Yours and Andy.
What are you gonna do? I'm not sure what we're going to do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like it's
I know. Oh, man, I hope that's just a Alright, here we go. Call the January 19th Mechanicsburg Borough Council meeting to order. We'll begin with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Here.
Here.
Here. Here. Here.
Here.
Here. Engineer Rogowski.
Here.
Chief Myers.
Here.
Chief Secretary.
Present.
Secretary Dent.
Do we have any guests? Any citizens' comments and requests? Seeing none. Are there any additions to the agenda?
I want to add John McDermott for the recreation.
Yeah, okay, put that on there.
Yep.
We have an addition to the agenda to appoint John McDermott to the Recreation Board. We need a motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Motion made,
Second.
seconded, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Correspondence?
No, sir.
We need a motion of approval of the minutes of the reorganization and regular meeting of council held on January the 4th, 2016. Motion's been made.
Second.
Seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Manager report?
Two things. The first is Greg Rogowski, the chief, and I, and a couple members of council, or one member of council, met to go over some traffic issues with a member of Benoni's staff as well as PennDOT staff. I think we got some good ideas on what we can do to clear up some pedestrian areas and some signage and stuff like that, so we'll continue to work through that throughout the beginning of the year. The second issue, which we don't technically think you need to act on, but I was approached via email by Upper Island Township as it pertains to Legacy Park. Right now, there are 2 traffic signals that are along 114 that are scheduled to be constructed. There's one that will go at the corner of what is Hemlock now, that has 4 sections, similar to what Allendale Road is, where half of it is in Upper Island, half is Hamden, half is with the borough. Similar to Hemlock, where half is in Upper Island, half was in the borough. During discussions with the developer, we have said that we would take ownership of that particular intersection and traffic signals because of it having some borough relationship. There's a secondary signal that's along Shepherdstown Road where the V is as you come into town, that there will be a signal there. Upper Island has requested that you guys entertain accepting ownership of the light on Shepherdstown instead of the one on Hemlock. They would like to swap responsibilities. Without going too much into it, and I'll let Greg extrapolate a little bit more, I would advise against doing that for a variety of reasons. Number one, the traffic signal on Shepherdstown Road is entirely in Upper Island Township. There is no part of that that will be in the borough in any way, shape, or form. The second part of it is that signal is a requirement for the land development plan to be constructed. So that will be the first signal that will be put in, as opposed to the Hemlock one, which will be put in at a later date and time. So what we did through negotiations, and there's no sneakiness about it, knowing that that was a later term part of the plan, we said we would take ownership of it, and it's in the borough. Shepherdstown will be the first signal constructed, so obviously the first signal that's built, the longer the maintenance cost, the more maintenance responsibilities. So my assumption is, as they continue to work with Legacy Park, they would like to swap because essentially they don't want to deal with the upfront cost of it, even though it's entirely in their township. So I think I hit the points.
I think that's exactly it. There's not much more to add to that, so. I mean, I think at this,
It's all their road service.
correct, and I think at this point, we kind of, already went down the path that we would take ownership of the signal that makes sense to take ownership related to the borough and the line, and I think.
They
that's
tried
what-
once
draw
before
the
to
line
have
in the
us
sand.
negotiate in a developer's agreement to have us take ownership of both signals, of which we replied no. And now this seems to be a second ditch effort to then swap, because downstream Hemlock may be constructed and the signal may go in, whereas the one on Shepherdstown is already a failed intersection by traffic standards, of which Greg would know better than I would, but that's gonna be one of the first things that goes in.
Well, for all intents and purposes, it's all their road service, and why would they want us to pay for it?
It's a very, very good question, and the question we asked when they first approached us about it.
I mean, that's kind of ludicrous.
Correct.
And we won't have to take action on that at all?
The bottom line is, we as a staff are negotiating the developer's agreement, and this would just basically be, Borough Council has no interest in discussing it. It's not an action item, it's more of just, we have no interest in doing it.
Yeah.
Well, unless somebody really has a desire to swap, I'll relay that back to their manager that there's no interest.
I don't believe anybody here is interested in swapping.
Told him I would bring it up, and I did, and I will relay that back to him.
Right,
That's it, end of report.
very good.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Thank you very much. December 31st, New Year's Eve wrench drop at Washington Fire Company. Good weather brought out families. The Union Church was opened for tours. January 4th, swore Mark Stoner and John Anthony into offices for Mechanicsburg Borough Councilman. The 11th gave Mechanicsburg Main Street walk and talk to ladies from senior living in Dillsburg. The 11th March was Kristen Noecker from Ray's Project Carlisle. Alcohol and drug recovery were explained and discussed. 12th swore in Mechanicsburg's newest police officer, Patrolman Richard Wolf. 14th, chamber sponsored ribbon cutting at Hot Frog Print Media's new location, 118 West Allen. They received a key to the city from the mayor's office. 18th, attended COG, Council of Governments annual dinner and recognition meeting with Councilman John Anthony and Borough Manager Pat Dennis. Trivia question. Shoes were made in Mechanicsburg. Where? Who has occupied the building since? Who occupies the building now?
Shoes were made in the borough.
There goes the answer. On East Allen Street, Shenandoah Floral occupies it now. There was a shoe factory before that in that building. And now it's called Shenandoah Apartments, so I get to keep the trivia.
That was long before my time.
End of report.
Thank you. Chief?
PSAB wants to utilize some background of our vehicles and personnel for a story that they're going to be doing on budgeting for police on PCN. Going to get together with them and give them access to our equipment and our personnel for a little bit of that background shots. Don't
Background
really-
shots, I mean, it's not gonna bring any,
Does not sound like there's any kind of interviewing, talking at all,
okay, all right.
so.
Anybody have any problem with that? Go ahead. Got it? Solicitor?
Yes, Mr. President and Council, reviewed with the engineer the action item that you'll have later concerning the reduction in the bond request for Admiral Clay. That's an appropriate action to be taken. Additionally, I worked with Mr. Zazursky on the Sunup land development plan for action to be taken here based on the lack of completeness of the applicant. So that is appropriate action for this council to take. And also, I had worked with, received a call from Attorney Shields as a sort of a pat on the back to Mr. Zazursky and some of the efforts and responsiveness and the notices for the vacant property under our new ordinance that went into effect. And Attorney Shields was able to resolve things pretty promptly, and he asked me to pass that along to council and to Mr. Zazursky on this matter.
Good, thank you. Thank you. Engineer?
Mr. President, I have nothing additional besides what's on the agenda below.
Thank you. Fire Chief?
Thank you, Mr. President. Attended the Fire Department Financial Committee Merging Committee meeting. Also held a Fire Department Borough Fire Officers meeting. attended the Borough Department Head meeting on December 2015. We had a total of 29 calls, 18 mutual aid, and 11 in the borough. I'm sure everyone was aware last Friday evening we had a fire at 40 West Main. The fire department was there approximately 5 hours. There were 2 injuries, one to a member of one of the borough stations. He had torn either a tendon or ligament in his left ankle. And there was one mutual aid company firefighter who had some materials while overhauling dropped down and hit him on the shoulder. He lost 1 day's worth of work, and it's being covered by the mutual aid company on the other township in which they came from. The state police fire marshal was notified it was an accidental fire, and the state police fire report will be going to our police department when it's completed. And that's all I have for now.
I understand it started in the kitchen,
Yes, unattended cooking.
unattended cooking. Okay. All right, thank you. Agenda items?
Discussion and possible action on Resolution 2, 2016, in honor of Steve Deal's service to the Recreation Board.
So moved.
The motion's been made.
Second.
Seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Discussion and possible action on certificate of appropriateness for Joseph Neville, 46 East Main Street for signage.
So moved.
Motion been made.
Second.
Seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Discussion and possible action to appoint Linda Willis as the resident representative on the Loan Review Committee.
So moved.
Motion's been made.
Second.
Seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Discussion and possible action to appoint Robin Agerton as the vacancy board chairperson.
So moved.
Motion's been made.
Second.
Seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
No.
One no. Okay.
Okay. Discussion and possible action to accept the real estate tax reconciliation with Barry Heckert and forward 118 bills in the amount of $66,869.25 to Cumberland County for collection.
I'll make that motion.
Motion been made.
Second.
Seconded. Any discussion?
I have a question, Patrick. After going over that list, and I didn't print it out and bring it with me, but there's several people in there I think have passed away. How long does it take to get them, off that list?
I'd have to ask Barry specifically, I'm not sure off the top of my head, but I'll ask him for you and I'll email you.
Barry would be the one that would have that information.
Well, they're not gonna come off the list till the taxes are satisfied, so till the estate is probated and the tax bill is paid,
So
the
most of them are
taxes
probably-
will
there you go.
remain on the
The
list.
state, okay.
That's the answer.
Eventually, when the estate is probated, it will come off.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, have we had the discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Discussion and possible action to accept the fire tax reconciliation with Barry Heckert and forward 118 bills in the amount of $11,814.35 to Cumberland County for collection.
Make that motion.
Motion's been made.
Second.
Seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Discussion and possible action to accept the per capita tax reconciliation with Barry Heckert and forward 790 bills in the amount of $7,900 to Penn Credit for collection.
I'll make that motion.
Motion been made.
Second.
Seconded. Any discussion?
Could I just ask, how does that compare to other years? Does anybody?
Well, this would be the first year that we've actually collected it internally, so it's always been handled by the county, so I don't have that information on the top of my head, but next year we can compare it to what it was this year, because we're actually the ones controlling it.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Scott, to elaborate a little bit on your question, because I think it's relevant, the 118 bills for real estate taxes and per capita, and fire taxes is pretty much spot on where we are usually. In fact, that's probably, if you compare them to our sewer delinquencies, it's most likely similar people, if not the same 100 to 125 people every year.
Thank you.
The number of bills per capita is very similar. The dollar amount is double because
That's
we
the-
raised the
raised the
amount
rate.
from 5 to 10.
Thank
I
you.
asked the
Thank you.
same question earlier, Glenn said it to me, it's about a 10% reduction over last year.
Discussion and possible action to approve the special event application of bladder cancer awareness walk on May 15, 2016.
I'll make the motion.
Motion's been made,
Second.
seconded. Any discussion? Does that fall into the application, all right? Do they need an application to do that?
Everything's been taken care of.
Everything's been taken care of. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Discussion and possible action to approve the special events application of Mechanicsburg Area Parks and Recreation for grass volleyball tournaments on June 4, 2016.
So moved.
Motion's been made,
Second.
seconded. Any discussion? Is there a permit for that? Is all acceptable?
Yes.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Discussion and possible action to approve the special event application of Mechanicsburg Area Parks and Recreation for Try for Kids on July 23, 2016.
Make that motion.
Second.
Motion's been made, seconded. Any discussion? I assume the permit's fine with that. Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Discussion and possible action to reduce the bond for Admiral's Key Land Development Plan, $29,502 to $149,139.05.
So moved.
Motion's been made,
Second.
seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Discussion and possible action to deny the land development plan for Sunup.
So moved.
Motion's been made,
Second.
seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Discussion and possible action to appoint John McDermott to the Recreation Board to fill the vacancy left by Steve Deal.
I make that motion.
Motion's been made,
Second.
seconded. Any discussion?
Has anyone been in contact with John? Is he interested?
He only
contacted us.
Oh, he approached me, so yeah, he's ready to go.
Contacted
He's
us.
ready to go.
He wasn't interested in the vacancy board, but he was interested in that.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Approval of expenditures from December 1st, 2015 through December 31st, 2015.
I'll make the motion.
Motion's been made,
Second.
seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Do we have any citizens' comments? No. We have someone moving forward.
Richard Steiner, 338 West Main. Thank you for the cleanup efforts in the park for the trees to make it safer for people walking. It might be a little bit more secondary work because there's some more tree limbs falling and they're kind of big ones. So thanks, keep up the good work.
Thank you. Any other citizens' comments? Any other business, Glenda? Patrick?
Stay warm.
Yeah. Chief? Mayor?
Thank you.
Gary? John? Scott?
Yeah, two things. I'll bring up later on too also. Just one
Later on?
Well, later on, a couple months down.
Oh, okay, I was gonna say, this is it, when you're done here, you're done.
Just a reminder, the rec board decided on the Easter egg hunt on March 19th at 11 a.m. Also, they are looking for volunteers to help out with the Try for Kids on that date. If you want to volunteer, call the rec office or need as much help as possible. Thank you.
Thank you,
Nothing, sir.
thank you.
Nothing.
Nothing, thank you.
Nothing? Meeting is adjourned.